Are you someone contemplating doing a long-term juice fast? Now, many people dismiss juicing because of the wasted fiber content. And just to be clear, I'm referring to juicing, where you extract the liquids from the fruits and vegetables and you discard all the fiber content. I'm not referring to blended smoothies where you consume all the fiber content. That would be cheating if you go down that path. I'm referring to doing a pure liquid only fast where you're consuming juices from fruits and vegetables. So in this video, I'm going to share with you my experience on a 60-day juice fast. What are some of the pros? What are the cons? What are my experiences and learnings that I can share with you and hopefully facilitate your journey on doing a juice fast. As always, I invite you to subscribe to my channel and join me on this journey to navigating mind, body, and soul wellness. As always, please remember, this is not medical advice, it's for informational purposes only. So with that, let's get right into it. I'm first going to give you an overview of the protocol that I followed on this juice fast so it can hopefully contextualize my experience on this juice fasting journey. So as I mentioned, this is a juice fast, only liquids, nothing else. I took pure, cold pressed, fresh juices from fruits and vegetables, and I had those for the full duration of the 60 days. Now, in most cases, I would say almost 90% of the fast, I was consuming fresh vegetables and fruit juices that I juiced myself. So none of it was, processed juices or anything like that. It's all pure juices, no concentrates or anything like that. This was 100% pure, fresh pressed cold juices. The only time when I did end up buying cold pressed fresh juices from a store was when I actually ended up burning out my motor because I was juicing so much that the actual juicer motor just blew and I had to replace it. So during that time when I was waiting for the replacement to come through, I resorted to going to a juicer or juice bar and getting fresh cold pressed juices from them. Now, in terms of my protocol, I followed a very haphazard approach to juicing. I just juiced whatever fruits and vegetables I can get. I don't recommend this if you're going to be doing a juice fast. I would rather recommend that you be more structured in your approach. Consider what fruits and vegetables have what healing properties and kind of tailor your juicing approach to that so that you're getting the benefits that you specifically want from this juice fast, rather than doing it as haphazard as I done, trying to just mix anything and just juice whatever was available. Now, a lot of it with juice fasting is a lot of fruit juices as well, so it can be quite pleasing to have fruit juices because they're very sweet. But then I also juiced some things like onions and garlic and ginger, so just be mindful. Those are very potent mixes. I don't recommend doing that because that can leave you feeling quite sick afterwards. The other notion that I'd like to share with you in terms of the protocol is that I generally tried to stick to this for the full 60 days. There was no cheating, there was no having meals in between or sneaking in solid food. It's pure juices right through. I didn't restrict myself in terms of not consuming enough. I would highly recommend that if you do this, that you consider having as much juice as you need in order to feel satiated or full on this diet. Else it can be very challenging if you're doing a juice fast and not having sufficient amount of juice to sustain you during this period. Now, I was able to do a lot of my day-to-day activities for the most part of the juice fast, but I'll get into more details as I move into the con section, telling you more about my experience as the juice fast progressed. Now, who inspired me to do this juice fast? I had a chronic condition that I was trying to heal via the juice fast. I was also having issues with my body not absorbing a lot of the vitamins and nutrients, and often having to supplement. And even though I was taking supplements, I wasn't able to pick up the levels of the vitamins. So that was one of the key reasons why I wanted to do a juice fast. And I was inspired by that documentary by Joe Cross, the legend Joe Cross, who inspired me through his documentary called Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead. I watched that documentary and I was like, I gotta try this out. If it's working for Joe, maybe it can work for me too. So that was my inspiration for doing the juice fast. And so there you have it. If you're gonna do a juice fast, that's the protocol that I followed. In terms of the juicer that I used the very same machine that Joe used, which is that Breville juicer. But in hindsight, I do actually recommend that if you are gonna do a juice fast, rather go with a slow juicer, rather get something that's going to extract much more out of the juices than the conventional cold press Breville juicer that I use, because it does waste quite a lot of the fiber content. A lot of the juices doesn't extract sufficient amount of juice from the fiber content. So if you are going to do it, rather invest in a slow juicer. It's going to get you much more bang for your buck. So there you go. That's the protocol that I followed. So let's get right into my pros and cons from this experience. So let's get into the pros, my favorite section, talking about the pros of a juice fast. As I mentioned, I set out with the intention that I wanted to improve my absorption levels of all the vitamins and nutrients that my body needs. So that was the ultimate goal, was to help with the detoxification and help with my body's ability to absorb. And yes, a juice fast really helped with this, because after I done the blood test, post doing the 60-day juice fasting, all my vitamin levels and everything was up and my body was absorbing. I felt much better after I started, consuming again after having done the juice fast, because I think it helped to expel a lot of the toxicity out of my body that was preventing the absorption of those vital minerals and nutrients. Now, juice fast is very potent because it really helps with the detoxification, and you're getting all those vitamins and nutrients in a very concentrated form, and there's no solid content. So a lot of the body's digestive processes and energy that goes into digestion is basically being redirected into healing. And that is what makes a juice fast so potent, is that it just allows for the body to get a break from digestion and to be able to do a lot of the healing work that needs to be done in order to remedy whatever you're going through. So that was my number one pro from going on a juice fast. The other pros to the juice fast that I experienced was the detox symptoms. So I really managed to get through a lot of get a lot of gunk out of me, and you can see it with the juice fast. When you get to day 40 or so and you're still expelling solid waste, that can become quite mind-blowing, because now you're wondering, I haven't been eating any solid foods yet, I'm still releasing solid waste. And that is just a sign of the amount of gunk that's within our system that is being purged, and sort of the body getting rid of all of that as part of the juice fast. Now, juice fast, the other pro to a juice fast, it is not as severe as a water fast, because you're still getting a lot of the sugar or glucose content from the fruits and vegetables, so you're still able to sustain a lot of energy. Whereas with a water fast, it does become very, very challenging when you do a water fast, because you're not getting that glucose content. And that is what makes a juice fast, I guess, more sustainable if you are going to be doing it for the long term. Now, the other pro to a juice fast, if you're looking to do parasitic type of detoxes, I did actually see parasites being expelled, especially towards the very late stages of the juice fast, because they're not getting the food that they need, and those juices can tend to be quite potent in terms of expelling all these nasty buggers within us that are potentially sapping some of the energy within your body. So there you go. That's all the pros that I experienced on the juice fast. In this part of the video, I'm going to talk about the cons, and there are a lot of cons. I can't be overly biased and only give you the pros. In this part of the video, I'm going to give you all the cons that I've experienced on this juice fast. So number one is the detox symptoms. They can be pretty aggressive at times. So I know you might feel good once all the toxicity leaves your body and you feel like a little bit more vibrancy and a little bit more alive, but there are also the detox symptoms that can come along with this process. So as part of it, you can feel nauseous, you can feel sick, you can feel lame. There are days when I never wanted to get out of bed. I didn't even have enough energy to make the juices and to be able to proceed with this juice fast. And those are the days when I wanted to just be like, you know what, I call it quits. I can't do this anymore. And that's where you have to have that real solid mental discipline to either decide, is it that bad that I need to stop and I can't proceed any longer, or is it just me experiencing this very aggressive detox symptoms where there's a battle going on within myself between the good guys and the nasty buggers that are trying to keep themselves within your body. So that's something to be mindful of if you are going to do a juice fast. Those detox symptoms can be very aggressive. The second con to a juice fast, if you're someone that's underweight and you're doing a long-term juice fast, you can lose a lot of weight on a juice fast because you're not getting any solid content. Yes, there's a lot of detoxing, but please be mindful if you are going to do it and you're underweight and you end up losing too much weight on this, it might be time to call it quits early rather than continuing, because then it's going to end up becoming more detrimental to you if you continue with the juice fast. Number 3, in terms of cons, is if you're doing this during the winter, it can be very challenging because you lose so much weight, you can end up feeling way more cold than usual. And that was my case. I was often bundling up so much that people probably thought, like, what's wrong with this guy? Why is he wearing so much clothes? And the reason is because you end up feeling so cold during those times because your body has just shedded so much of your fat stores that help to keep the body heated up. So just be mindful that if you are doing it during the winter, I don't recommend doing it during winter. Try and rather opt for doing it during the warm summer months, because it's going to be that much more easier on you doing it during those months. Another con to juice fasting, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work doing juicing. You're probably going to end up making a couple of runs to the grocery store and having to cart a whole lot of groceries back to your place. In fact, I had a scenario where I bought so much groceries from the grocery store and actually broke my shopping cart along the way, and it was frustrating having to carry this cart all the way back home because one of the wheels broke. So just be mindful that if you are going to be doing the juice fast, it would be nice to have some help around, or to maybe order your groceries or have them delivered to your place. That will make things way more easier on you so that you don't have to deal with those nasty situations. In this part of the video, I'm going to talk about the tips as well as my overall take on a juice fast. So in terms of what are those helpful suggestions, if you are going to be doing a juice fast and you're going to be doing a long-term juice fast, just be mindful that you can feel very weak towards the second half. Towards the second half of the juice fast, I was actually feeling more drained. I didn't have those elevated energy levels that Joe mentioned in his documentary. I actually started feeling worse. And that's when it's probably a good time to just assess your situation, because you might be somebody similar to me that's underweight and then have a situation where you're doing yourself probably a little bit more harm by continuing with the juice fast, and you probably already derived quite a lot of the benefits, and you might need to stop it a little earlier than continuing with your original goal of perhaps 60 days or longer. So that's something to be mindful of, where you really need to be in tune with your body and to recognize when is that time to actually pull the plug on this juice fast, and whether it's just detox symptoms that you're going through. Another helpful recommendation to the juice fasting, try and stick to organic juices or organic vegetables and fruits that you're buying from the store and juicing yourself, because you don't want to get more toxicity within your body through consuming things that are high in pesticides. So just be mindful. If budget is a huge constraint, rather look at the clean 15 and go with conventional clean 15 fruits and vegetables, and then look at the dirty dozen for which ones to buy organic if budget is a huge concern, because juicing can be pretty costly. So just be mindful of that as well. You're going to be going through quite a lot of vegetables, and that is why I also recommend getting a slow juicer so you're extracting maximum out of the juices itself. Another helpful recommendation, just remember your why is going to be so important. Why are you doing this juice fast? You've got to be constantly reminding yourself of this why. Having somebody to keep you accountable, to help you along this journey and to motivate you will also be very helpful, because doing a juice fast, those food cravings can be significant, and they can especially aggressive, at least during the initial phases until you get used to it. But when you're on this journey, you got to remember your why, and your why needs to be really strong in order to hold you to it, because as you proceed through this, if you have a weak why, that's probably the reason why many people end up quitting too soon on the juice fast. So those are some of my key tips. If you are going to be doing a juice fast, just be mindful of those. And so what is my overall take on a juice fast? So in terms of a juice fast, I think this is where you need to assess it, because I think there's a lot of great testimonials out there on YouTube, people saying, the juice fast is fantastic, it was revolutionary, it changed their life. But I think this is where you really need to be mindful, because there are people that don't achieve the goals through a juice fast. There are people where it might not be the optimal solution. I think, playing around with the duration of a juice fast, you might not need to go as long. Some people might need to go longer. You need to assess it from your individual perspective. So I think a juice fast is great. Personally, upon reflection of my experience, I think 60 days was way too long. I think cutting it back to maybe 2 weeks or a month might have been more than enough. I didn't need to go as aggressive as going up to 60 days, because I think, a lot of the detox happens during that, probably going from juice fast into a raw vegan diet, where you're eating mostly whole foods, would have been probably better than going on a full 60-day juice fast, especially if you're underweight. So there you go. There's my overall take on the juice fast. And I thank you guys for staying right till the end of this video. And I hope you like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in my next video.